So last year around New Year's I did a timeline video, so I'm going to be doing a timeline simplified this year. So as you can see, we're breaking it down, keeping it simple. We got the Age of the Dragon, the Primordial Age, the Age of the Seven, the Cataclysm Age, and the New Age. So let's go over it. As far back as history goes in Teyvat, we have the Age of the Dragon, and it's just as it sounds. It's basically the equivalent of our dinosaur age on Earth. You had dragons and bishop-like creatures inhabiting Teyvat, nothing else, and you had 7 sovereign dragons, one for each element, ruling Teyvat with the Dragon King, Nibelung. This went on for, we don't actually know how long, but it can be assumed it went on a very, very long time. But nothing lasts forever. A mysterious being known as the Primordial One, or Faunus, would arrive in Teyvat and battle the dragons and defeating them. This would be the beginning of the second era in Teyvat's timeline, the Primordial Era. And during this era, beginning stages of it, some of the dragons would actually bend the knee and live in Teyvat. Faunus did not kill the sovereigns, so they were free to live and hold dominion in certain areas. The Dragon King Nibelung would flee into the abyss and leave Teyvat. And the Primordial One would create Celestia, its 4 shades, and humanity and gods alike, like the ancient civilizations that we see in Teyvat and Dragonspine, Sarami Island, the Chasm, the desert, you name it. All of these are civilizations living under the Primordial One in the Primordial Age. This would also go on for a very long time, and everyone for the most part prospered. But again, nothing lasts forever, and there would be an earth-shattering conflict in Celestia where most of humanity and civilization on Teyvat would be wiped out. The Primordial One would battle with a second who came, a second descender. Who this was exactly, whether it be the Dragon King coming back, the sustainer of heavenly principles, we are not sure, it's left ambiguous, but a battle took place nonetheless, and this shattered Teyvat. And most of the beings that were alive during the time are only Seelies that we see today. Enkanomiya would be dropped into the watery abyss, and everything was eradicated. But eventually things would stabilize, and it is also left ambiguous who actually held the seat at Celestia as the heavenly principles now, but all of the gods in Teyvat would break out into an all-out war in every nation. This would be known as the Archon War, and the very ending stage of the Primordial Era, where 7 victors would reign victorious in this conflict, and they would be known as the seven Archons, one representing each element from each region, and this would begin the Age of the Seven, under the heavenly principles and their new strict set of rules. This era would go on for quite some time, thousands of years, and the seat of the 7, or the Archons, would change hands from time to time, except for Morax or Barbados, who would remain the Archon for the entire duration up until this point, but there would always be an Archon for every nation. But during this era, somewhere underground, a nation without an Archon was forming by the name of Conria, and it was thriving. It was more advanced and more powerful than any individual nation in Teyvat. It is ambiguous exactly how they formed, possibly the Dragon King Nibelung, through the abyss, feeding them magic and intel and abyssal powers to try to overthrow the usurper that is the current heavenly principles. And just as it always seems to happen in Teyvat, nothing would last forever, as a conflict would break out between Conria and the rest of the 7 nations, releasing monsters from rifts, their mecha and ruin guard machines, and going to war with Celestia and its 7 nations with their Archons. This will be known as the Cataclysm Age, and the current age that we are currently in Teyvat in our game right now. And this would be a devastating conflict in every nation in Teyvat. Many would die, including 2 Archons that we know of, and the heavenly principles itself would have to come down and destroy Conria, possibly being injured in this conflict, as we have not seen the heavenly principles since this conflict occurred 500 years ago, and nothing would be the same again. PTSD would linger, and relationships would be destroyed. Many were killed, but eventually it would stabilize and Conria would be wiped out, with a few citizens either being cursed with immortality or being turned into hilly trolls if not already killed. The travelers would try to leave Teyvat but be stopped by the Sustainer of Heavenly Principles, and thus being put in a 500-year slumber while our sibling would travel the world of Teyvat. And this is where our current story begins, waking up 500 years later. This is the Cataclysm Age, and the age that we're currently in Teyvat, where the Harbingers are trying to collect each Gnosis from the third Descender and rebel and overthrow the heavenly principles to get back to the old world. And the age that we will be going into when this game wraps up, the conflict with Celestia is over and Teyvat's storyline ends, is going to be the new age. Whatever age arises from this conflict at the end of it. Because after the story in Genshin is complete, the world of Teyvat is going to be so drastically changed and different that nothing will be the same again. Either Celestia will win and continue to reign, or the Tsaritsa's grand plan to rebel against the Divine, overthrow the heavenly principles in Celestia, and seize control and free everyone of Teyvat will be completed, if that is what she's truly trying to do. However this conflict unfolds, this will be what the new world that's left over will be the new age. The new age of Teyvat. And my prediction is that the primordial one, aka Paimon, will regain control of Celestia, fix everything, stabilize it, but then ultimately destroy the very idea of the heavenly principles, archons, gods, and Celestia. For that is the reason of Genshin Impact in my opinion. And reinstate the dragons as the rightful rulers and lords of Teyvat, where everyone can live in harmony, with a new age where dragons, humans, and other creatures all live together in peace. The entire purpose of this story is the oversaturation of gods and how they have a negative impact, hence the name Genshin Impact being the name of this game. I think the entire purpose is to let humanity and living beings dictate their own fates and live freely to make their own decisions and govern themselves, not have gods or powerful beings that are descenders, aliens, or just in a power of authority dictate what will be. That is what I see happening in the new age in Genshin Impact, where Teyvat is freed from this death grip and never-ending cycle of conflict, and as we've seen, the dragons, the gods, the descenders, and the archons, everyone in Teyvat, including even humans, all have made mistakes. And at the end of this game, perhaps we leave Teyvat where everyone is living equally and in harmony and can get along. And that is the complete timeline of Teyvat in Genshin Impact. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a good holidays. Hope you enjoyed. And as always, we will see you on the next one. Later.